Gemara that is required, or something in one of the commentaries that is required to understand the depth of the concept, they will, not the depth, the simplicity of the concept. The art scroll will usually put it in the bottom of the notes. However, if it's more like a complicated lumdishik thing, they very often won't, and the Masifta would. So I think that is where the Masifta is there. And the Masifta is actually, as its name is Masifta, which is meaning it's there really to be a yeshivish, to learn thing, and not just a the art scroll is more for the balabayis, balabatim, that they want to learn Gemara quickly, and that's it. Masifta is a different set of Gemara that is in some ways considered a competitor of the art scroll set. However, I will let you know that in my personal opinion, they're not really competitors because they serve very different purposes. And those who really want to learn the Masifta will not get it in the art scroll, and those who want to learn from the art scroll very often won't need the Masifta, right?
Different company?
It is a different company, and it's.
When was the Masifta released?
I honestly don't know. I've actually heard it's been around. Somebody even told me it's been around before art scroll, which would be surprising because I didn't hear about it
Like
for the last few years only.
Sensino?
No, Sensino was way before. Sensino was probably either the first or one of the first English translations of the Gemara, of the Talmud, and the Sensino edition. Again, it's they don't explain much. They kind of just tell you as it is, and again, I mean, there were people once upon a time that used Sensinos. Today, most people that are learning Gemara, if you want to learn Talmud today in English, it's definitely the art scrolls is really the only one that will give it to you properly. Although you have Rabbi Steinsaltz has some of his English versions are actually up there, and if you're struggling with the art scroll, which many people do, if you're struggling with the art scroll, then it's definitely advisable to look into Rabbi Steinsaltz's English versions. They're also very good. All right, continue. Let's go. So we started last week. We already read the next two Toshmas. Okay, and this week is actually somewhat of a shorter week because we don't really have much of a day on Thursday. Okay, we have a partial day on Thursday because of Lag BaOmer, and our dear performer Nissim Black is coming to Tzfas. As I said on Shabbos, and I'm going to say it online, we're going to get blacked out, right? He's going to black us out. This is with his great music.
This is great blackness.
No, I didn't say that. That's your addition.
No, it's his name, not
It's his name,
color.
exactly.
No, it says blackness.
By the way,
His name
I
represents
love his name because he's.
Wasn't actually black.
His name is Black. Yeah, his name is Nissim Black. Yeah, he was called Black. Yeah,
Mr. Black.
yeah.
Mr. White.
It's like the perfect name for him, by the way. I think that if you want to know why he's famous, like just his name, like gets him out there. Nissim Black. It's a great name, and he's an awesome performer. By the way, I'm not sure if you've ever been to his performances. He's a great performer. I'm not sure I'm the biggest fan of his style of music, but if you are, definitely you'll appreciate it. It's kind of like, it's interesting. I mean, he started out as a rapper, but it's not really rap what he does. He does like this hybrid between rap and I would say gospel style, like really like heart, like really like
Shorty's got
heart,
good meatos.
like, you know what I'm talking about, like.
Shorty's got good meatos.
Is that a song?
Yeah, that's one of the songs.
Shorty's got good meters. Huh?
Shorty.
Shorty in the hood, in the neighborhood. Shorty is like, whenever you want to say like that guy, they say shorty, you know.
No, like girl.
Shorty.
I know, shorty's not a girl.
Shorty's a girl.
It's a girl.
It is?
Yeah, Justin Bieber has music with the name Shorty.
Like, that's what we call shorty because like women are shorter.
Yeah, I mean, I
No,
heard
not
people
girl.
call Shorty when I was in the
No,
Crown
but-
Heights. You would have the neighborhood individuals very often just called anybody Shorty. It was like another say like the little guy, you know. It was like Shorty.
Did the Rebbe sing Yes Laguna?
Huh? You think so? You think so?
Rabbi, did the Rebbe sing Mrs. Black's Laguna?
No, There's one good reason, because he wasn't Jewish when the Rebbe was alive, and not only wasn't he Jewish, I don't even know if he was born. So I think he was born, by the way. I think, what did they say? I think he's in his mid-30s. That's a good question. Yeah. How are we allowed to? So you saw the one time it says in Allah that if it's not written by the Rebbe, you cannot listen to it. You saw this?
I mean, isn't that how it works? Like, if it's not like the Rebbe's Nagunim.
I don't know where isn't this how what works.
Like the Chabad shtick. Like
No. There's different Chabad. There's different levels of shtick. Some people have more shtick. Some people have less shtick.
The Rebbe didn't write anything
Yeah,
about
the Rebbe, as far as I know, the Rebbe did not compose any Nagunim. There are various songs. The songs that they call the Rebbe's songs are actually songs that he taught from his memory, from his older, from his youth, when he was, when he was in Lubavitch, when he was in other places. He heard many songs and he taught them, and including Hulekenu. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure if he composed any of these. Many of the songs were actually, again he taught the song. As a matter of fact, the story is that Samal Chanafshi was actually a song of the Alter Rebbe that Chassidim used to sing in Europe, and apparently after World War II it was lost. And the Rebbe remembered it. The Rebbe was one of the people that actually remembered this song when he was younger, and so he brought it back to life.
So if it's not a Chabad Nigun, then you can still listen to it.
Put it this way, I think a Chabad Nigun is definitely something with a lot of power, a lot of energy, and should definitely be on a high priority list for you to sing and evolve and delve into and get into. However, you should. Songs are powerful. You want to make sure that the influence of a song is positive, and I wouldn't necessarily. How should I say it? I wouldn't necessarily endorse Nissim Black's message. I think he's extremely sincere. He is a person who went through a lot of garbage in his life, a lot of horrible things, including watching people get killed in gang violence. And he turned himself around in a very powerful way. And I think he's extremely sincere. I feel that in him. Again, you have to realize that he at the end of the day, he's bringing a very gangster perspective of renewal.
Renewal of what?
Meaning renewal of taking the culture of gangsterism and basically saying, I'm going to show you how to be a gangster in the cool, good Torah way. Right? That's the way I see it. And again, it's sincere. I'm not saying it's insincere. I'm not saying that it's insincere. God forbid. I think he's sincere. But the culture that he's bringing out is a gangster culture, but he's flipping it to try to say, hey, you know what, we can be, we could have the attitude and the culture of a gangster, but by doing good. Right? Now, can you imagine if the gangster world, with all their, excitement and all their passion and everything that they do, imagine if the gangster world would actually fight to make the world a better place. It might actually be a good thing. It might be an awesome thing to take the world and take all the Bloods and the Crips, and instead of fighting each other to kill each other and to wipe each other out and to self-destruct their whole society, they fought to make the world a better place, a just place. They protected the victims, and they fought to make, if that were the case, that would be an awesome concept. And I think that's kind of where Nissim's coming from. And it's not his fault. It's not his fault, because that's who he comes from. That's who he is. He was raised there. It's very hard to get out of the entire culture and thought process of where you come from. It's much easier to say, okay, I come from this and this is my thought process, but we need to reorganize it and redirect this thought process in a way to accomplish a positive goal. And that's the way I see his music, right? So now, he disagrees. Shkoyach, he disagrees. Yaakov Greenstein disagrees.
I just want to
Huh?
hear Rabbi Kopel finish his
Huh? Yeah, what do you say?
From the consumer's perspective, for people who are otherwise used to hearing music that has a certain type of a sound,
Yeah.
it is now giving them an opportunity to listen to kosher lyrics and positive messaging with familiar
So you're essentially telling me, Rabbi, I'm arguing with you that you're entirely right. That's what you're basically saying. People that are based in that culture. By the way, music breeds a culture. Okay, music is one of the is not, I wouldn't say one, it is the foundation of a culture way of feeling, approaching life, music. And that's why Hasidim were so into music, because music basically defines how you feel and how you approach life. Okay, now you're telling me that people that are used to his music, in other words, people that are part of his culture, part of where that comes from, or people who were influenced by that culture, which means that not everybody, a lot of people. Now, what happens is people who are already influenced and already used to a particular mindset. Now you're taking a guy, Nissim Black, who took that mindset and turned it into a positive way, and he is now going to take somebody who's used to that mindset and show him how he can be a better person. That is awesome. That's awesome, and that is exactly what he is doing, and that's why he's sincere, and that's why I definitely I hold highly of him, because that's what he's doing. He's taking a guy who used to have this mindset that he was once in, and within his music, he's showing how this very same mindset can be put into a positive way of seeing, right? And that's exactly what he's doing, and that's exactly what I said. And then you say you're arguing me, but then you proved me right. So shkoyach, I'm happy. Baruch Hashem.
Of rap and hip hop can span like a very wide range of moods.
Right.
So like to say that he's appealing to,
but it's not moods. It's not moods. It's a whole perspective of culture. What I'm trying to say, if you have a guy that was never influenced, if you were a guy who was never influenced by his type of music, and you came to me and says, should I indulge in his type of music? I would say no. You know why? Because where is your previous influence from? Your previous, if your previous musical references are Hasidic music, which is based on pure Torah dedicated perspective of life and meaning and depth and all that, I would tell him, don't go near his music, right? Because why would you want to introduce to yourself a perspective that is actually coming from the depth of evil?
Well, you could say that about.
Okay, as a matter of fact, he himself, I've watched some of his interviews. He himself says that in his previous life as a gangster rapper, he almost got killed because he said the wrong rap about the wrong person, and he says and he said there was a point where he almost thought that he had to kill the other person because he was afraid if he didn't kill the other person, then the other person was going to kill him, and it took a while for him to deal with this, right? So you're talking about the whole attitude, and the music itself was the cause of mass murders of people. Okay, now not necessarily could be that his music of the past actually caused. No, if you're telling me that if I write a piece of music, it's going to get somebody to want to kill me, or it's going to get, and therefore it's going to give me the fear that I got to kill him before he kills me, and between me and you, if that's the way he felt, and he didn't think that was out of the ordinary, he actually thought that was actually very typical of his music, right? So his music directly caused the death, or his style of music directly caused the death of many, many people. Tupac. Right? That whole thing, Tupac and all these things. This music actually was the defining factor of encouraging somebody to pick up a gun and shoot another person in the head. Right? That's what the music was about. And don't tell me that he somehow changed. And it's the same style music. He's just saying different words and different messages. Right? So he's basically taking a very dark, and if you ask me, a very dark and evil culture, and he's trying to basically come back to them and telling them, guys, all we got to do is twist it a little bit like this, and all of a sudden we have an awesome culture. And that's awesome. That's awesome. And it's good. It's good, and I'm happy he's doing it. Right? And if a person himself feels that he is under the influence of this style music, then and that concludes many people, right? By the way, I spoke to Rabbi Pasternak. I told him the same thing. He's like, listen, when I was a kid, we this type of music. Again, many people who consider themselves today Baal Tshuvas have a lot of influence from this very dark and evil culture. right? So to hear a person who was able to take this culture and twist it into something positive, even if the individuals who we're talking about themselves, they already are good people, right? But that evilness that's still stuck inside of them from this influence, by hearing somebody who was able to, if you want to say, refine it, that might actually help them tremendously. It could help them tremendously because they're here. It's almost like they're going back into their past and they're taking this evil thing that is evil. It is evil and it still is right now. And now they're taking it up and they're saying, you know what? Let's take this piece of evil together with this guy who's managed to kind of purify it in a particular way. And let's do that. But if a person did not engage in this evil perspective, right? There's no reason to say, "Oh, let's engage with this." I don't think so.
Rabbi, let's learn.
Yeah.
Rabbi, can you compare
He wants to
this-
learn. First of all, this is learning. Let's get
Rabbi,
it straight.
Can you compare this to the Rebbe took Napoleon's march and made it into a niggun?
The Rebbe did not take Napoleon's march and make it into a niggin. That was the Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Chassidic movement. And generally in Chabad, there are many songs in Chabad that were taken from other places, but you have to realize that they were picked very, very meticulously. It wasn't they didn't just take any song. They picked very specific songs that they felt that these songs had a very deep positive message in them, right? And then they made them into a niggin, and once they made them into a niggin, they came completely purified, right?
It's the same thing.
I don't know if it's the exact same thing.
We took the
I don't know. Again, if he was a Rebbe, I mean, he looks a little bit like a Rebbe with a shtreimel. You know, he has a shtreimel. He wears a shtreimel. But he's not a Rebbe. He's not a Rebbe. He's a good Jew, and I can't wait to meet him and shake his hand
He's got
here,
7
right
kids.
here in Baruch Hashem. Sheesh, can I know that?
Jewish children.
He should have more, Bezrat Hashem. Many more to
He's living
come.
in America? Or?
And I'd be happy to meet him. And that's that. Anyways, back to what we're saying. If you are anywhere in Israel this Thursday night, come to the Nissan Black concert. Okay?
Thursday night.
No, that's again, most of the people that are online, I doubt that they're the people that I'm talking about that have such pure souls that they've never engaged in hip hop, rap, and all this stuff. Most of the people that are sitting there online actually engaged in this. And therefore, it will be positive for them to re-engage in this type of music from a positive perspective of Nissan Black. And therefore, I encourage them, unless you're going to tell me that all the music you listen to is pure and holy, if you're going to tell me that you've listened to rap, you've listened to hip hop, you listened to all this stuff before, you're going to like this concert. Come to Tzfas in the Metzuda and come to and you're going to see me there, okay? You want to see me? You're sitting there online. You're like, I see this rabbi so many times. I want to finally see him in person. Come there. I'm not going to be on stage. I'm not singing, but I'll be there. Bezrat Hashem, Bli Neder, I'll be there, and I'll shake your hand, and I'll dance with you to Nissan Black's. How's it go? Motherland Bounce.
I think you should sing too, Rabbi.
Also,
Motherland
Rabbi,
Bounce.
also, I should
You know
say,
what I'm talking about?
Rabbi.
I'll make sure.
All right, we're also going to do some just a Kedusha on some other songs.
Yeah,
Part of the Kabbalah Dream Orchestra set.
yeah,
This is top secret,
yeah.
But you already
but we have a version of Little Wing that we're going to do.
I don't know
but
what
we're
Little
gonna-
Wing is.
It was a song originally written by Jimi Hendrix, and then it was
yeah.
redone by Stevie Ray Vaughan, and now it's going to be redone by Kabbalah Dream Orchestra for just a Kedusha, a part of it. And then also 2001: A Space Odyssey. We've turned it into a Hasidic tune. There's a whole bunch of other stuff.
I don't know
we're
what you're
gonna
talking about. Anyways, Yosef, why are you so late?
so unfair.
Okay, guys, we have to get to real business over here. This is time to learn some Torah. We're going back to Maseches Shabbos. We are dealing with the Gemara that tries. Excuse me. We're going to the Gemara that's. We're going to the Gemara that's trying to prove whether the Mishnah means lahachsitnan or lishishtanan. All right. Did anybody over here dare reading the second Tashma?
I think we went through it, no?
Yosef,
Yeah.
it would make me feel better if you weren't on your phone in the middle of my class.
More Gemaras.
Did anybody go to the second Tashma?
We both did, but I
Yo,
can't remember.
Did you understand it?
Weird.
It is difficult. It is difficult. And in the advanced Talmudic class, which doesn't make it online because I don't want to confuse you guys, we're on Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph. Yeah, 37a. Where are we saying? Oh, so the first one is a little bit complicated. The second one, that's the third one. Base curious is the third one. The third one, we went through the second and the third one already Thursday. And I'm going to go over the second and the third one briefly today because it seems like some guys tried and they had a little bit of difficulty, etc.
Yeah.
Now remember, Toshma, what does it mean as a keyword, Yaakov? What does Toshma mean as a keyword? That's what it means as a literal word. What does it mean as a keyword?
We have a dilemma, and we're going to attempt to resolve it.
Oh, brilliant! Brilliant! The guy remembered everything. Right? You have no idea. There's some students I have to tell it to them like 50 times in order for them to remember it. You only like 2 or 3 times and you got it. Yeah, Baruch Hashem.
It's because he learned with me.
Oh, he has a good chavrusa. All right. Toshma is come and literally means come and listen. As a keyword, it basically means we're trying to resolve a dilemma with a quote. Okay, the quote is over here, as I told you in the past, is a Amaraic quote. The reason why we have an Amaraic quote, even though Toshma is usually a Tanaic quote, is because you do not necessarily need a Tanaic master in order to determine in halacha. An Aramaic master also has the right to determine a halacha. The reason why it's usually a Tanaic quote is because very often a Toshma is dealing with an actual Amaraic dispute. Now, if there's 2 Amaraic opinions, you cannot bring a third Amaraic opinion to disprove one of the 2 opinions. You need to bring a Tanaic opinion to disprove one of the 2 Aramaic opinions. However, since over here there is no argument, we just simply have a dilemma. Is it A or is it B? If we can bring an Amaraic quote that takes a side of A and B, being that we lack any other Amaraic disputant, so therefore it would automatically be like this particular person, and that's why this Toshma uses the Amaraic quote.
How to tell if the quote is Amaraic or Tanaic?
Well, first of all, the fact that it says Omer Rabbi Chama, Omer Rabbi Chava, Guri, Omer Rav. Rav is definitely an Amaraic sage.
So we got to learn all the rabbis.
So you get to used to it. When you learn Talmud, you'll get used to the various sages. What? What?
Tashma with it spelled out or no?
No, that's the second. That's the third Tashma. The second Tashma is the previous one, and that's where we're starting. We're only talking about on top, but not inside. Now, the Gemara seems to think that it would be obvious. It would be obvious that the Mishnah, that if Rav actually made a statement on a Mishnah, it would be obvious that he means one thing and not the other. Yeah? It would mean which one is it talking about? So Rashi and Tosfos, as I told you, even though I don't usually get into this, but Rashi and Tosfos have very interesting conflicting opinions in the matter. Rashi seems to say that we would assume that Rav is talking about the earlier action. What is the earlier action? There's 2 actions being discussed in this Mishnah.
Leaving and taking and returning.
Leaving and returning. Leaving from Friday to Shabbos and returning. Yeah. Good.
I'm coming.
What line are we?
Yeah.
I know this.
What line are we? We are, yeah. I don't know which line are we here, but we're starting from 1. We started from 1. Tashma. We started from 1. Yeah.
Is there a line in the Gemara on one that's not on that olive that you can tell me?
Yeah, it starts with Af Machzirin. The line starts Af Machzirin. It's about 12 lines from the top, maybe a little more. I'm not sure. All right, it's a quick count. All right.
Tashma.
Toshma, come and listen. We're going to try to resolve this issue. This Mishnah is only referring to on top of the kira, but inside the kira, also it will be prohibited. Now Rashi says there's 2 actions. There's the first action, which is done on Friday, and the second action, which is done on Shabbos. So we would first assume that Rav is talking about the first action, which is done from Friday to Shabbos, leaving, and that's what we would assume it's talking about. Tosfos says no. The first action is literally the first action in the Mishnah, and if it's yachzir tanan, then it would be the first action would be on Shabbos, and the second action would be before Shabbos. And if we're talking lishos, then the first action would be Friday, and the second action would be Shabbos, which means depending on which version you have, it flips which one we're talking about. All right, Oleg is, by the way, this guy Oleg over here. He's a person. You saw his comment here. Yeah, I put him here briefly. Yeah, whatever it is. He asked if Nissan Black is coming. I would actually like Oleg to come here to the concert. You know why?
And Piotr.
I know Oleg for many years. We've met a lot of times online. I never met him in person. And I'll tell you the truth that I did a lot of spiritual coaching in the past, and I had tons of clients online. I must have had a few hundred clients online. And I could tell you that I never met any of them in person, not even one. Never met one of the people online. I could tell you there was a guy that actually was coming to Israel just to meet me. He was a guy that I met many, many times. He was coming to Israel just to meet me. He flew to Israel, came to Ben Gurion Airport. He said something stupid to the immigration. They shipped him right out.
Oh.
I'm serious. It was crazy.
Hashgacha
I can't share too much about
I
it.
don't know. He might have been coming to take
But he said, I can't share too much about it.
But was he Jewish?
Not sharing details. It's a private client.
I don't know who it was.
You don't need to know who it was.
Okay.
It's a private client.
Whatever the story was, it was a crazy story. Anyways, I totally would love to break that record and actually meet somebody from out there that I've met in the past. And I would totally love to actually meet that person in person because I've never done it. I'm telling you, I met hundreds of people online, and again, we saw face to face. We had video conferences. Never met any of them. There was also a guy in America. There was a guy when I went to America for a family wedding, and when I was there at the family wedding, this guy I put online that I'm going to. He said, I'm going to come visit you, and whatever happened, he was planning, he was going to drive, and something happened that day. He actually sent his son to meet me. He said, I'm going to send my son to meet you. So I met his son, but I didn't meet him. So his son I met, and I never met his son online. I only met his son in person. It was crazy, like whenever it happened. So maybe this is it. Maybe this is it, the Nissan Black concert. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit too distracted. But
Said the wrong thing to Ben Gurion and I caught dude.
yeah.
Yeah, and if you like Palestine or Kanye, don't bother visiting.
Anyways, so Rav made a statement that we didn't speak only on top but not inside. And what was I saying?
Kanye's music sucks.
Oh, so the Gemara says Bishlama. It would make sense if you say Leilach Sitnan. Therefore, it would make sense that Rav says that you could do it on top but not inside. But if you would say Loilisha Istnan, then what could you do? Why would it make a difference? If you're already doing Gurfa Ketuma, what would be the big deal to put it inside? Yeah. If you already did the Gurfa Ketuma, it's all gone. There's no. You're not putting it on top of ash. You're not putting it on top of coals. Let it go. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Good.
Now, the reason I didn't explain this too much is because, in fact, it is a bit complicated to plug in the details, and I want you to read it inside and plug in the details yourself. I have to do work. I have to do work.
I didn't know the printout.
Why? What happened to it? Can't lose your printouts. All right. The second Tashma, or the third Tashma really, is basically a very long quote of Tanaic sages where we're going to have a dispute between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda are going to argue as to what the argument between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel was.
They're arguing about someone else's argument.
Correct. They're arguing what the other people were arguing about.
Oh, that's the best argument.
He loves it. There you go. Welcome to the Talmud. We do this all the time. There's an argument as to who's arguing.
They're arguing about someone else's argument. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, is the Gemara later is going to say there's actually a third person. So again, Noyam, I would appreciate if I'm the only one speaking in this room when I'm giving a class, if you don't mind. If you mind, then I'll just let you sit in my chair and you give the class instead. What do you prefer?
I guess you're
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. So listen carefully. I'm not going to read the Tashma again. I read it already Thursday. But I'm just telling you, read it and understand that there's a massive difference between the way Rabbi Meir sees the argument and the way Rabbi Yehuda sees the argument. Our Mishnah, as you can see, has an argument that seems to be identical to that argument. Right now, because it seems to be identical to that argument, and our Mishnah doesn't mention either one, we're going to assume that it is siding with one of the two opinions. No, it's mentioned in the Gemara. You'll actually see it. It says Divri Rabbi Meir, and then it goes on Rabbi Yehuda. Yeah. So again, you'll see that there's a dispute between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda as to the argument between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. And the Gemara basically says only one of them, which is Rabbi Meir, is definitely not identical to our Mishnah. It definitely isn't identical to our Mishnah, very clearly not. However, Rabbi Yehuda's opinion could be identical to our Mishnah only if you say Lishos Tanan. And therefore, the Gemara is assuming that if there's an argument as to what Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel said, which is Yosef Rothschild says he's adamantly surprised that you could argue as to what the argument was. So if there's two people that are
thrilled, not surprised,
thrilled, he's thrilled that there's an argument as to what the argument is. And so the Gemara is like, listen, if there's two people arguing what the argument is, probably the Mishnah is siding with one of the two opinions.
They're talking about someone else.
Probably the Mishnah, which doesn't mention two opinions, only mentions one opinion, probably he's siding with one of those two opinions. And if we're going to assume that the Mishnah is siding with one of these two opinions, if he's holding like Rabbi Yehuda, the Mishnah could only mean Lishos Tanan and could not be Lahachzir Tanan. And that itself, the Gemara would like to use as evidence to prove that our Mishnah is in fact Lishos Tanan and not Lahachzir Tanan. Yeah, is to leave from Friday to Shabbos. Lahachzir is to return on Shabbos itself. Yeah.
Rabbi, what is akar?
If it was removed. All right. Good. Let's continue.
Question.
Yeah.
Unless I have a misunderstanding, I thought by the end of this Tashma we conclude that neither of them works.
Incorrect. The end of this Tashma is saying that if you're going to say Lishos Tanan, one of them works. But if you're going to say Lahachzir Tanan, neither of them works. Meaning, again, this Tashma is trying to resolve which one of the versions are more accurate, right? Lahachzir Tanan or Lishos Tanan. The Gemara is basically saying that if you're going to say Lishos Tanan, then it's siding with Rabbi Yehuda and everything's cool. But if you're going to say Lahachzir Tanan, then it doesn't match either opinion. Right? And that's actually why the Tashma, this is how the Tashma is attempting to resolve this issue.
So when it says in lines 20 and 29 that if it's Rabbi Meir or if it's Rabbi Yehuda, both have a kasha, that is only with respect to it being.
What are you talking about? Okay, so let's go to the end of the Tashma. You know, we'll skip the Tashmas. We'll go to the say I Amat Bishlama, right? The line for Yosef. The line for Yosef, both Yosefs, is in the Gemara. It starts Machzirin. It's about halfway down the page, right? The line is Machzirin, and it says I Amat Bishlama. If you're going to say as follows, it makes sense. Lishos Tanan. It would make sense if you say Lishos Tanan. Masnisin Mani, who is our Mishnah? Rabbi Yehuda. It's clearly like Rabbi Yehuda. It's 100% consistent with Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Elo yomrat lahachzir tanan. However, if you're going to tell me that it is to put it back, yeah, meaning it's not about leaving from Friday to Shabbos, but it's putting back on Shabbos. Masnisin Mani, who is the Mishnah going like? Loy Rabbi Yehuda v'loy Rabbi Meir. Meaning, if you're going to say Rabbi Yehuda, right? So it's not going according to either one. Then, and it explains. Rabbi Meir, if it's Rabbi Meir, if Rabbi Meir, if you're going to say it's Rabbi Meir and lahachzer tanan and Rabbi Meir, you have a inconsistency with Beis Shammai in one instance and Beis Hillel in two separate instances. Rabbi Yehuda, if it's Rabbi Yehuda, kasha grufa ktuma, you have the kasha grufa ktuma. In other words, you have one instance where it seems to be inaccurate, right? So the Gemara rejects this. It rejects this Tashma and says as follows. The truth is, really, we can say, we can still say that the Mishnah is Lachsitnan. The Tana Didan Savar Law, and our Tana, meaning the Tana of our Mishnah, whoever it is, we don't know who it is, he holds Rabbi Yehuda Bechada, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda in one instance, and holds like, argues with him in one instance. Right? Disagrees? He agrees with Rabbi Yehuda in one instance, with cham, that Beis Hillel allows you chamen and tavshil and allows you to put it back. And argues with him in one instance, our Tana Savar Lishis, we can leave it. Rabbi Yehuda Savar Lishis Nami God of Ein God of Eloi. In other words, our Gemara just decided that it is highly likely that there is a third opinion that we don't know about that actually holds almost like Rabbi Yehuda, but disagrees with him in one detail. What? Didan is ours. Tana Didan, our Tana, which is talking about the Tana of our Mishnah. Our Tana holds like this. Yeah, Sover as he holds. That's his opinion. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Good. Anyways. Yeah. Polig is he argues. He argues in Chada. All right, and that's going to be the end of today's Gemara. Tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to go further. But I want you guys to reread these things and understand it perfectly and, precisely, because we need to understand it well, right? We need to understand well the two Tashmas, what they're trying to say.
You said, so what's the word to put it there on Friday, remains there over Shabbos? What's that word?
Lishois.
Lishois. And if you're going to be taking it off on Shabbos
and putting it back,
it's
Machzirin.
Is there a word that's similar to Lishois? Lishois.
Lashois, Lishois, Lashahis.
Lashhois is to take it, to leave it.
Leave it. Lishois literally means to leave it or to make it wait.
Right. And if you're going to be returning it,
yeah. All right. I think you guys got it. I'm sorry for the disturbances in the beginning of the class with all our Haka Chainik about Nissan Black. I'm expecting anybody here that's in England, in Israel, must come here Thursday night to join our Nissan Black concert. And this Thursday night, yeah. And they don't let you in Meron. You have to have special tickets. It's you could sneak in there. No. So go to Meron. Let's see if you get in.
That's what one point was all about. We should borrow time when we're meant to be there.
We're going to see Meron. We're going to see it. We're going to see Meron. We're going to see. So go be there. It's not so easy to be there. You actually have to buy tickets in advance, and because a few years ago, unfortunately, 45 people were killed in a crowd crush. And so since then,
dangerous situation by blocking things in the zone.
yeah, and therefore,
like, oh my God, look how this happened, like, yeah, because you went and you blocked people trying to leave, and then you created like this situation where they were like squashed in. If you just let people come and go when they want to go, then it works. If they try to block in and control it, government, government.
Yeah, you don't like the government. Yeah.
Government interference often has the opposite result as to what is intended.
Right,
Be
100%.
careful not to.
Anyways, that's that.
Worship Rabbi Shimon, but to just celebrate.
Worship.
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about, but the Moshe drummer wants to get a hold of you somehow because he's like,
I know I have to take a
he's
call.
like, yeah.
I have to
Anyways,
take a call.
we're going to end the class now, and thanks for joining us, and please let us see you Thursday night. Bezrat